Here are some comments about the V Robot event we attended last Thursday in Burbank, California. I want to say two things. One is more of a personal experience. This was a really impressive, inspirational event for many reasons. I'm going to go into details. And then, second, I think as an investor in Tesla right now, you are a believer, you're not a moneymaker. What that means is that the future wealth creation of this company is in the realm of beliefs and hopes and optimism. So you have to be that kind of person, and you have to also subscribe to that. And I think a lot of people have a problem with that. And I think there's a sort of a dichotomy amongst the investor base or in general about, well, I mean, how is this a good situation for me right now? Let's say if I put my capital at risk, what am I getting? Am I getting returns? Am I getting, how am I going to be compensated? And the answer is you're not going to be compensated right now. What you need to be is a believer. What you need to be is an optimist. You need to believe in a radical change of the future that can be done with technology. It has been done before. Actually, Musk has proven that it's possible with Tesla and SpaceX. But you just have to be a believer. And there's a difference between being an optimistic, progressive person and a moneymaker. And I'm going to try to explain that a little bit more. This is not even on podcast. It's October 13, 2024. This is Krim Delco. Since the last update, we are down about 9%. The market is flat for the year. We are up 12.5%. The market is up 21.9. We're underperforming by 9.6%. There's been a massive sell-off after the V-Robot event, which is the main reason for our underperformance recently. Let me start with that. So I think it's warranted to be cautious about the Tesla investment. And the reason for that is that a lot of the achievements of the company, as great as they are priced in the stock. So having a Model 3 and a Model Y, which sells really well, that is worth a couple $100 billion for sure. However, if you want more upside in the stock, if you buy the stock, or if you bought the stock, let's say in the last 3 years or so, you haven't made any money, and that's because the future growth of the company, the additional incremental growth, or the step change in valuation, or any which way you expect to make money, whether it's to a rapid increase in cash flows, or whether it's to a rapid increase in the market valuation of the company or the enterprise value of the company, you need certain triggers that trigger that. And right now, the factors that contribute to the future of this company are all in the realm of beliefs and hopes and optimism. So in order to be a shareholder of Tesla, you have to be a believer, an optimist, and a progressively thinking person. And I think a lot of investors are not like that. A lot of investors, they're used to the incremental growth that something like Microsoft gives them, or JP Morgan, or Goldman Sachs, or Wells Fargo, or whatever. And a lot of people have been schooled by the Warren Buffett school of investing, and that's all fine. There's nothing wrong. All I'm saying is that there's two vectors which are now almost going counter, sort of counter direction. Right? One vector is the progressive, optimistic believer type force, and the other is there's no tangible revenue growth, profit growth, none of that. So you can't make money in the markets with a situation like that. So the conclusion is, of course, for us investors, is that we really have to change our mindset. We've done that at Orange Capital Partners. It is our purpose to invest in fundamentally new concepts and engineering practices. So with that, there is a certain expectation that you will have lulls, that you will have times when science and technology and execution require certain time, either because of the execution or because customers need to embrace the new technologies. These things don't just happen. I mean, the fact that it even happened with Tesla is already almost a miracle. And, that people actually did buy the electric car at scale globally. Now, we believe that, now let's talk about the optimism and the hopefulness, which is really what we're most excited about. It is certainly warranted to be hopeful about anything that Elon Musk does, because every now and then the technologies that he presents us, they are magic, and magic is something that warrants hope. For example, just the recent landing of the Starship, the recovery of the booster of the Starship. Whoever, if you've seen that video, it was actually posted, I believe, yesterday or maybe today. I'm not sure. The Starship goes to orbit and then comes back and gets caught by those chopsticks. I mean, that's just in itself magic. Every single piece of technology that is nothing short of magic. If you really think about what it takes to make that happen, what it takes from bacteria to the evolution of human beings, and then to make this something like that happen is absolutely in the realm of the beginning of infinity and David Deutsch's creative work and the ability of humans to be creative and create knowledge and substantiate knowledge in technologies and proliferate through the multiverse because those technologies are profitable in themselves, but also because they generate so much value for society. Now, let me talk about the V Robot event from a sort of investor perspective, a tangibility perspective, money. Let's talk money here, okay? So we have this car that drives itself, no steering wheel, incredibly comfortable, super experience. You watch movies while the thing is driving. It picks you up and it drives you from, let's say, SFO to your home in Mountain View for about $15. It does the same from JFK to Manhattan, probably about $25. So we're talking about 3 to 4x cheaper and about 10x better in terms of experience. So that alone should warrant a profitable, fast, rapid growth of adoption. And that is just because of price and convenience. There is also a factor that is in many cases, for example, in Asia, Southeast Asia, you have a combination of wealth and lack of transportation, whether it's because of traffic jams or whether it's because there isn't even enough transportation. Even if you wanted to wait in traffic, you couldn't. So this could be a solution to a lot of traffic problems around the world. Tesla made that sort of video while Musk was presenting, where they show traffic jams in stadiums and things like that. So it's a solution to a massive problem, which is traffic. Anybody who's been to LA just has to go there and experience what it means when a city doesn't have its traffic situation under control. So there's this potential for massive, massive value creation for society. Now, we are strong believers in the sort of Peter Thiel P times Q model, where Q is the value of society and P is the capture of that value for yourself. And P times Q has to be large. So, but the Q has to be maybe 5 to 10x larger than P for society to tolerate the kind of wealth creation. In other words, if you create massive amounts of value for society and you become very rich in the meantime, that is okay. People will tolerate that as long as they benefit as a society many, many times more than what you capture. In other words, if you like Facebook is the kind of company where the value to society is almost all captured by the Facebook shareholders, in other words, Mark Zuckerberg, and that's why we don't like them. Google is kind of in the middle, and then there are companies where there's very, very little value to society and still wealth creation for the insiders. Uber, Airbnb, or even the legacy companies like car companies in Detroit. And that, of course, creates all these problems. And that's why we have this woke movement and all of that. But that's not part of this podcast, so I don't want to talk about it. My point here is that V Robot is also a case to be made for large value creation for society and also, of course, a capture for investors. But anyway, to conclude this part of the talk here, we have to wait. We have to be believers. There's nothing wrong with being a believer, nothing wrong with being an optimist. But I just want to emphasize that for people who are trained in the old school Wall Street incremental return, 300 basis points above risk-free rate or any kind of that kind of stuff, that's not going to work here. That's not how Tesla is going to make you money. It's going to be step changes. It's going to be, you won't even see it when it comes, and when it comes, it's too late to jump in, kind of thing. It's like a big wave. It's going to catch you, but you have to be there, ready on the board to to surf that wave. Otherwise, you're not going to catch it. So this is as far as the investment side is concerned. I think for just the event itself, I want to say a few things. First, the production was amazing, and I think this is kudos to the Tesla team, and I assume they used external production company. This is really just an amazing production, an amazing experience to have this movie set present you a future scenario for a real world situation such as traffic. I think it's just a great idea. It's just a creative, intelligent, smart, hopeful way to present something that requires hope and that requires optimism. And I think this combination really made it worthwhile. I think the ability to talk to the robots, even though they were teleoperated, is amazing, and also it's good training data for the robots. So let's not forget that a lot of the robotics, so the Optimus interaction, I think was also meant for the Optimus robots to generate data. And there's just as a tangent, I believe this is a good idea, that maybe we should have teleoperated robots going around in shopping malls or football games, after football games, and interact with people and collect data and learn from those interactions. This would be a good way to solve the data collection problem for humanoid robots. I think last thing I want to say is that as a company, Tesla is in the business of inspiring investors and employees to really sort of jump out of their comfort zone. And that is something that is a big ask, and the return for that is very, very good returns, way, way higher returns than you could expect with anything else in the market right now. There are a few exceptions. For example, the AI stack, from all the way to the chips up to the applications along the lines of ASML, NVIDIA, Microsoft, OpenAI. I mean, there's definitely upside there. But other than that, we believe that this real-world AI, real-world robotics, solving real problems such as traffic, and a little bit later, generally work, tedious, mundane work that can be done by humanoid robots. I think that the upside for that in terms of societal value and value capture for shareholders at Tesla is immense. And actually, as a tangent here also, I want to say the one important tangible information that Elon gave at the event was that we expect unsupervised driving, unsupervised FSD in next year. Whether that happens through a full-scale cybercab, or whether that happens just as a product or a service that you can buy or use with the existing 3s and Ys, that's not even that important, because I've been saying many times before that unsupervised FSD alone is already an amazing feast. Imagine if you can send your car to go, let's say, pick up your child from school, or pick up your wife from work, or you can go somewhere and then send the car back so somebody else can use it. Like, those kinds of things are FSD native type services that are only possible with an FSD unsupervised situation. And of course, you could also drive from, let's say, Palo Alto to Burbank and watch a movie or sleep or work. How about that? So that in itself is already a massive step change. I think people are over-indexing a little bit now on the cybercab and forgetting that in itself is already a massive product, and that will also boost the stock. So there's enough to be optimistic about. But to summarize, I think as investors, we are in the camp of hopefuls, of optimists, and of believers in progress. And that is not natural, that's not native to the typical Wall Street investor. That's why we have this shaking situation. The ground under our feet feels like it's shaking sometimes. That's not because Tesla is necessarily doing anything wrong. It's just the nature of the company is such that we have to continuously move the target forward. The same way, by the way, the same thing is happening to SpaceX. And sometimes things happen a bit earlier, sometimes a bit later. For example, unsupervised FSD, if it happens next year, that's earlier than I thought would be possible, because think about it. Once you have unsupervised FSD, you have something like Waymo anywhere, at least, let's say in the United States, and you have it, or maybe in Texas or California if it's state, regulators and things like that. But the point is, you have the same thing for probably about, a tenth of the cost, aesthetically much, much better, much more convenient. And of course, again, you're much freer because you can use it anywhere. Maybe also as another tangent here, people often talk, particularly in the context of this event, with like, well, Waymo is much further than Tesla, and Tesla is going to lose its mojo and all that. Let me tell you this. I could be wrong on that one, but I believe that Waymo is not even close to being a competitor with Tesla, because their stack and their approach is very different. Waymo is to Tesla what Yahoo was to Google. Like, in the short term, a little bit ahead because there's more customers and more offerings. But because of the app approach, which in the case of Yahoo was sort of brute force, human engineering, versus Google algorithmic, end-to-end, learning, getting better through using the product, and incredibly scalable. That's the same, very similar situation here. And therefore, we believe that once the unsupervised FSD hits the ground, first through, let's say, customers using it, and then later on through Cybercab, there won't be any Waymo anymore to even talk about. When it comes to Uber, we believe the jury is open. I don't want to talk too much about this here, but I also don't think that just scheduling these types of cabs in itself is a viable business. So there's a lot of turmoil to be expected, but the value creation that Tesla is expected to make is going to dwarf the market caps that will be lost once the companies like Uber and Waymo reveal their insufficient approach towards this new way of solving the traffic problem. Thank you.